U.S. President Donald Trump's pick to lead the Federal Reserve was grilled by lawmakers overnight. During his confirmation hearing, Kevin Warsh insisted that he wouldn't be the president's sock puppet as the Fed's independence was called into question. Toni Waterman filed this report for CNA from Washington, D.C.
Central to this entire nomination hearing was whether Kevin Warsh, if confirmed, can maintain the Federal Reserve's independence amid repeated attacks from President Trump to lower interest rates. Warsh was emphatic that he wouldn't do the president's bidding, saying that Fed independence is essential. What's interesting, though, is his view on what independence actually means. Warsh argued that the Fed's independence isn't threatened by politicians, including the president, giving their opinion on interest rates, but rather when the Fed wades into fiscal and social policies that it has no expertise in, repeatedly saying that the Fed must stay in its lane.
The president never asked me to predetermine, commit, fix, decide on any interest rate decision in any of our discussions, nor would I ever agree to do so.
Democrats didn't seem to buy it. Senator Elizabeth Warren called Warsh President Trump's chosen sock puppet, claiming that he's flipped positions on monetary policy to make himself more appealing to Trump.
In our meeting, you said you would be independent because you're, quote, a tough guy. Those were your words, tough guy. And you will be able to stand up to President Trump. So let's try it again. Name one aspect of President Trump's economic agenda with which you disagree.
Well, Senator, the Federal Reserve in recent years has wandered outside of its remit, wandered into other areas.
I'm asking for something
That's
you
not something
disagree
I'm
with
prepared
Donald
to do.
Trump on.
If I'm confirmed, the Federal Reserve should stay in its lane.
Just one.
When Warsh was a Fed governor in the late 2000s, he was an inflation hawk. But now he seems more open to cutting interest rates, in part because he believes that AI is going to bolster productivity enough to offset inflation pressures. During his testimony, Warsh also laid out his vision for the Fed, saying that the central bank needs a new inflation framework and a new way of communicating with the public. He also committed to divesting personal assets. If confirmed, he'd be the wealthiest Fed chair in U.S. history. But of course, hanging over this nomination is the DOJ's ongoing criminal investigation into the current Fed chair, Jerome Powell, and his handling of renovations at the central bank's headquarters here in D.C. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have called this absolutely bogus. And Powell himself says that Trump is retaliating because the Fed hasn't cut interest rates as quickly as the president wants. This investigation could really jeopardize Warsh's nomination. Republican Tom Tillis says that he's not going to confirm him until the investigation is dropped, and there's no indication that the White House is going to do that. For CNA, I'm Toni Waterman in Washington, D.C.